what they are constitutionally permitted to do. So in the end, it was satisfying to watch Howard Schultz get grilled for sure. But there were, of course, Republican
All right, so we're done with that one.
Interference for him, Mitt Romney being one of them.
Ohio train derailment poisons EPA workers.
In his mansion for his cars. You had Mark Wayne Mullen go back and forth with Bernie Sanders, saying that Bernie Sanders is demonizing rich people, and Bernie Sanders.
Oh yeah. I covered that too, guys. There's a video of a guy called Senator Mullen, and Senator Mullen basically, where is it at? Here it is. Senator Mullen is someone who also was there defending that CEO of Starbucks. But Senator Mullen's also another crappy business owner guy. Let me see. And this was during the St. Patrick's Day, my St. Patrick's Day drunk live stream. So we're gonna start out today because now we're starting. We're like an hour in. I don't even know how long we're into this shit. We're gonna watch Bernie Sanders.
Are you aware?
Yes. So basically, the Teamsters guys.
And it makes me cry.
The Teamster guy literally destroys.
Sean O'Brien is the general president.
Oh my God, what's up with the quality of this shit, dude? Why is it so bad? Teamsters, I'm sorry, I love you guys. I'm gonna subscribe, but the quality of that.
The illusion that MAGA politicians want to project is that they are the authentic.
Shut up, whoever the hell you are. Shut up, MSNBC guy. I like the Rational National. Here it is. Immediately. Snap of a finger.
We create opportunity.
jobs.
We create opportunity because we
Sir,
hold.
There's two of me.
CEOs
That's
like yourself
not-
accountable.
You call me a greedy CEO.
And I changed the patch on my
During a
hat.
Senate Help Committee hearing on labor relations, a bit of a heated exchange, and that's putting it very lightly, between Republican Senator.
You guys can watch it yourself. But let me cut to the part where people, but I'm not anti-union, but you know what I mean? You're anti-union.
Intimidating their employees. But you guys haven't ever spoke about when the unions try to unionize the intimidation they have to other people that aren't wanting to unionize.
This is the other senator, Senator
You
Mullen.
guys don't mention that.
Intimidation.
Because see, I started with nothing. Absolutely.
I started with nothing.
Mullen became a businessman. At the age of 20, he took over his father's plumbing business. To him, starting with nothing is inheriting his dad's business.
So that's Senator Mullen. You guys can watch that video on my channel if you guys want to. Next topic, Ohio. Train. Sick.
While residents of East Palestine, Ohio were told repeatedly that their air and water quality was completely fine after a train derailed in their town and essentially released toxic chemicals into their environment, turns out that some of the individuals doing the testing actually fell ill, and it wasn't widely reported that they had fallen ill. So this was an exclusive report by CNN. One of the examples of good reporting from CNN. And before we get to who got sick, why they got sick, and what the excuse is in terms of why the public didn't know about it, let's just do a quick refresher and give you context into what happened during this train derailment. So 11 cars carrying more than 1 million pounds of hazardous chemicals ended up derailing in East Palestine, a small town in Ohio. Now, the chemical spilled into the soil and air and into 2 small creeks that run through the town. A car carrying flammable vinyl chloride became unstable, sparking fears of a massive explosion. So they decided to do what was referred to as a controlled burn, although there are some conflicting reports as to whether they needed to do a controlled burn. There could have been safer ways of doing this. Nearby residents were evacuated while small holes were punched in the rail cars so vinyl chloride could be channeled into a trench where it was burned. A black mushroom cloud rose over the town and left ash and soot on cars and buildings for miles around. Afterwards, the CDC's Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry sent 15 people to the area to conduct an assessment of chemical exposures. And one of the things that the investigators do is they go to households near the derailment site to ask them if they're experiencing any symptoms related to exposure to these toxic chemicals. And I'll give you the results of their study in just a moment. But before we do, the investigators, some of them got real sick. Now remember, they sent 15 CDC employees to do this investigation. 7 US government investigators briefly fell ill in early March while studying the possible health impacts of a toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. The US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed to CNN. So Francesca, 7 out of the 15, nearly half of them got ill, and they suffered from symptoms like sore throat, headaches, coughing, nausea. Basically the same symptoms that the East Palestine, Ohio residents were experiencing, but were told repeatedly, everything's gonna be okay, you're gonna be fine, everything is safe.
Absolutely. I mean, if only this were in Cuba, and then we could call it, the East Palestine syndrome, and do 60 Minutes, which we're going to talk about, reports all about the syndrome that must be related to Fidel or something. No, and I'm making that joke because obviously this is why TYT and your coverage is so important, is because this is a story that a lot of mainstream news outlets have left, like a toy that they're done playing with. It's done, it's over. We're not gonna follow up, and because it's not follow, it's corporate malfeasance. It fingers both the Biden administration and Republicans. We don't want to touch it. No, this is exactly why we have to talk about this. And of course there were people who are gonna get sick, and of course the residents are gonna be like, see what happens? This is, mind you, after the head of the EPA goes and drinks the water performatively. I think there's like 2 or 3 moments where different officials are drinking the water, just a total slap in the face. And so, yeah, and I think the CDC workers, yes, it's a little bit delicious, sort of, hypocrisy and justice maybe, but they didn't want to necessarily be there cleaning up the mess of, essentially a massive, railroad barons malfeasance. Yeah, they didn't want to be the ones to be the guinea pigs, and yet here they are, as if they hadn't been through enough in these last, 3 years of the pandemic.
Yeah, and it's just so frustrating because it's important to have institutions, government institutions that you can rely on.
Who knows how many years of their life these people just shaved off because of this fucking company and their stupid ass oil spill. Not oil, I mean chemical spill.
On to tell you the truth, that you can, take their reporting, take their investigation, and figure out whether or not it's safe to go back to your home in East Palestine. And in this case, I mean, the argument was, well, we decided that the public didn't really need to know about the 7 CDC investigators who experienced these symptoms because when they were told to go home and rest, their symptoms were alleviated and they were able to get back to work and do their thing. No, but you don't get to make that decision. The local community there deserves to know about the reality of the situation. They deserve to know every moment of that investigation, what the outcome was, whether or not the CDC employees fell ill as they were doing their investigation, because they need to make decisions about how to move forward. Do they go back to their homes? Is it safe for their kids? But there's more to this that's pretty incredible. So again, all of the symptoms that they experienced were consistent with what the residents were experiencing. And by the way, apparently continue to experience, but they keep getting told that everything is safe, everything is fine. So early results of the Ohio ACE survey, so that's the survey that the CDC did, show that more than half of the 514 residents who have taken it so far have experienced symptoms after the derailment. So what are the top symptoms? Well, 74% of the residents said that they are experiencing headaches, 61% said anxiety, 53% say coughing, 53% say fatigue, 50% reported that they were experiencing pain, irritation, or burning of the skin, and another 50% say, or 50% of them also say that they experience stuffy nose and sinus congestion. Now, the CDC spokesperson said in a statement to CNN, quote, symptoms resolved for most team members later the same afternoon, and everyone resumed work on survey data collection within 24 hours. Impacted team members have not reported ongoing health effects. So in their minds, everything's okay. I mean, they got better. They were able to go back to work within 24 hours. So that's the reason why we just didn't really feel the need to report this widely. And why are we finding out about this now? Because the investigators' symptoms improved soon after they left the area. The incident was not reported to the public, a CDC official said, noting that reports of illnesses experienced by CDC personnel on the job wouldn't ordinarily be disclosed. Why not? Why wouldn't they ordinarily be disclosed, especially if they're investigating something, a chemical release into the environment that could impact the local community's health?
Because
it absolutely should be.
Corporations own the government, and if people find out, then democracy not real.
Ordinarily disclosed.
Democracy,
and then
very
not
not real.
The CDC experienced
especially
this. Apparently
with capitalism
there were
in it.
workers for the Environmental Protection Agency who also reported similar symptoms.
Or unfettered capitalism, laissez-faire capitalism. That's what it's called. If you want to be more precise.
Got better within 24 hours. Apparently, they went back to work and didn't feel the need to widely report
corporate capitalism,
or widely report the illnesses to both the press or the local community. Any final thoughts?
Unregulated capital.
No, the biggest thing is they get to go home, right? They get to leave East Palestine. The residents do not have that option. And all of this is to save money for everyone to keep passing the buck back and forth between, corporate greed and government. And when you hollow out places like the CDC or the EPA or FEMA and you gouge them, they're not equipped. And so I understand being like, we should put
they don't
these
have the money
residents
to
up
sue
in
the
hotels,
companies.
which is what they should do for months and months and months until they know it is safe to move back. But again, we don't really have that infrastructure. We don't have that infrastructure when it comes to climate change. We don't have that infrastructure when it comes to corporations who are gonna do late stage capitalism all over us and make us clean up their messes time and time again. Look, you can't have it both ways. If you want the free market to be able to use us as their little garbage bin, then you better help and assist people. So when these things inevitably do go wrong, people aren't stranded.
Absolutely, the local community absolutely deserves to be paid damages. They deserve to be put up in hotels where they and their children are safe for many of the environmental impact here. But more importantly, just taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture, I just don't really want to hear much from the Biden administration about what the Trump administration was able to do unilaterally in rolling back regulations pertaining to these rail companies. The Biden administration can undo what the Trump administration did. They can do the same thing unilaterally, but have chosen not to. So why haven't they re-implemented the very regulations pertaining to the braking
Biden
systems
sucks.
that the Trump administration had repealed from the Obama
Are you aware Biden sucks?
I would like.
So that was that. Yeah, people are dying in East Palestine. EPA workers are getting sick. Cover up, cover up, cover up. And we thought this only happened in Chernobyl. Like there's monopolies everywhere, and then they start bribing politicians, and it becomes legal to just like give money and shit, and like corrupt people and lobbying, and once it gets to that point, no, like you gotta heavily regulate capitalism, or it will destroy itself. It's a self-destroying system, like most systems are.